Hi, I'm Christian Askeland. I'm the advisor for the Green Collection, which is a collection of manuscripts in Oklahoma City owned by Hobby Lobby. I also work for a group called Inspire. In there, I work with academic programs, and we create and inspire life-changing events that lift up the Bible and point people towards Christ.
Dr. Christian Askeland, good to see you, Christian. Welcome back to Exegetically Speaking.
Glad to be here.
We had the chance to be together in Houston recently for an Inspire event, and today we're here to talk about Greek, and we're talking about the book of Revelation, chapter 5, verse 1. But before we do that, what's a good piece of advice for somebody that's just taking up the study of Greek, or even Hebrew, or Coptic for that matter?
I usually give two pieces of advice really quickly. One is get some vocabulary cards, especially if you're learning on your own favorite vocabulary over grammar. You can do a lot with the vocabulary, and a lot of times the grammar is less important. You can fly through things. The second piece is you're never going to read like the equivalent of a 5-year-old child in antiquity, even if you're the greatest scholar. So just focus on reading, enjoying yourself, get what you can out of the text, and always get better.
That's great advice. I like that. I use vocabulary cards for German, theological German, and French, and Greek and Hebrew. I had a professor who was a friend of mine. He would always say at the beginning of class, a language is many things, but it's mostly words. So it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious things. You can do a lot of grammar and get a lot of particles and participles and infinitives. But, if you don't know the words, it's hard to translate. All right, today, Revelation chapter 5. Fascinating book. Interesting take that you're going to have on it. But when we come to Revelation chapter 5, we've already been through some other visions and things that have been fairly remarkable. John, who's on the island of Patmos, has seen a vision of the risen Christ, the Son of Man, and that vision continues because he has letters to write, and those letters are to the 7 churches of Asia. And then in chapter 4, he sees a scene of the throne room of God. There's a throne in the middle of it, and there's 24 elders around it, and there's 4 living creatures. All of these things are kind of building up. And then in chapter 5, as you described earlier to me, probably the most emotional scene in all of the book of Revelation happens in chapter 5. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, he's going to tell us that he cries a lot. You don't say that he cries a lot, but it's really clear. Cried exceedingly. Very sad because they've got this Biblion. It's a little scroll. It's really not a scroll or a book, but it's a Biblion, and there's nobody to open it. And for some reason, this is like an existential problem that we've got here in the book of Revelation.
He says at Revelation 5:1, "And I saw in the right hand of the one seated upon the throne a Biblion, and it has been written, Esothen kai opisthon." What is going on here?
We have a variant reading here that'll become interesting, and we can look at English translations that think about this 2 ways. First piece is the Biblion, it's like a Bible. We have the word Bible, and most of us know that, but it's that the iota that shows up in there is a diminutive, so it turns it into a kind of a little Bible. First century, we should think about literary documents all being in scroll format, not in codex format, like our modern books. So a first century book is going to be in a scroll format, usually spreading out horizontally. If it's spreading vertically, that's going to be a rotulus. It's a little different from scrolls, we think of it. So we've got something that's a little scroll. And then it's described with the writing. There's something different about the writing in the scroll. Now, a normal scroll would be blank on one side, on the back. And then as you unrolled it, you would have your writing showing up in columns.
Rolled up, and it's only written on the one side. But this scroll, it says it's written esothen, which is from within, and then opisthon, in a sense, from after, or from the other side.
I assume you're reading from your Nestle Aland.
I'm reading from Nestle Aland, yeah. What are you reading?
I'm all over the place, but just as of, I think this Sunday, I got an email that the Edition Critica Major for Revelation is out, and I think it's freely available online. There's links where you can go to the University of Wuppertal's online digital library, and you can download the 4 volumes. Some of you don't want to do that. You'd rather pay like the $800 to get these de Gruyter volumes. But in there, we actually have 4 variant readings. Yours is listed there as B. To repeat what you just said, Sothen Kai Episthen is the second reading. The first reading is Sothen, so the same thing at the beginning, which is within, and Kai Exothen, which is the correlative opposite. So inside and outside. Whereas your reading that you read was within and on the back side. And now I'm quoting the King James Version. The ESV also has within and on the back. The NIV's got something that's a bit more paraphrastic. It says on both sides.
It's a small scroll, and it's written apparently on the inside, and we would say the outside or the back side. What do you think this is trying to tell us?
I'm going to give you 2 answers. The first one is the document may have been written the way that I write thank you letters. And when I do that, I want to fill up the writable space, and then I write sideways or whatever. And this kind of says, really thank you a lot. Like, thank you more than most of the other thank you letters you get. They just have 2 lines and a signature in it. So it may be that this thing is jam-packed full of information, and it's awkward. Another option goes back to this word Biblion, a little scroll. And we had in the King James, you have the word book. ESV and NIV both have a scroll. But we might translate this differently. But it may be a documentary text. In other words, this is a non-literary text. It's a kind of a contract. It's a kind of more like a piece of postage. And we got to remember, the whole book of Revelation starts with a letter to 7 churches. And so we have something here that may actually be like a letter. We have examples of this from antiquity, where you have things which are written and it becomes complicated what's going on. If my first theory is true, you could just simply have this reading in the inside and the back, and it could be the kind of strange Greek that you get in the book of Revelation. It could just be an awkward way of saying it. But in the prior chapter, in chapter 4, you mentioned that there were 4 living creatures around the throne. And they have eyes on the front and the back. It's one of these variant readings here. It's actually variant reading C, and it's attested by Codex Sinaiticus, which is obviously it's the most important manuscript for Revelation. Obviously, the author of the Revelation has the literary command to use front and back, but he doesn't.
So as this particular paragraph continues, John begins to weep because he is not sure there's anyone who's going to be able to open the scroll and read it. The scroll is actually sealed. It's a sealed scroll. And it's sealed with 7 hepta seals. What do you make of those seals?
It's a great one. You write a whole book on this, and you get into history interpretation and things like this. I do wonder if the original readers of this, if there was an autograph or a series of autographs, were sent around and they couldn't think of the actual document that was in their hand, the autograph. And they couldn't help but think of it as being something like this, a document which John saw in the throne room of God is opening the eschaton. But if my crazy theory about this being something like a contract is true, and you have the 7 seals, that writing that was on the back would have been a summary of what was inside. And the seals could have been either clay or they could be wax, and they'd have a stamp that would certify that it was from the author and that the contract hadn't been opened or changed. When you open the contract, this is where it gets complicated, is you'll actually have all the writing on one side, but when it's folded, that's where one piece folds out and the bullae is stamped. What these seals would do is obviously they have this eschatological value, which refers to the 7 churches, but it also is setting up these series of 7 sets of God's judgments that are coming.
Well, that's a fascinating reading of these particular texts. So it's a documentary text that could be a contract, and having on the back summary of that could be read by somebody, I guess, looking at the back, but you don't really know until the 7 seals are broken.
That's right, yeah.
All right, so we're going to stay tuned on this, and I've got to see some of these other manuscripts. I may pay the $800 to get the de Gruyter text, or maybe I'll just do what you said, and maybe we'll put a link in the show notes for that. That might be helpful for folks.
They can look at Key London 2 as an example of this. It's in the British Library, available online. It's Papyrus 1208 in their online systems.
Fascinating stuff. Dr. Christian Askeland, thanks for being with us today on Exegetically Speaking.
Take care.
Thanks to Christian Askeland for being with us today. Reading Greek or Hebrew, or Aramaic for that matter, are doable. They're very doable. But it does take time, resources, and a commitment. The best way to do that is to follow the show notes to Wheaton College website. Find the program that is right for you. Is it graduate? Is it undergraduate? They have a program that fits. Get started today. Thanks to our Houston and Wheaton-based teams for their help in producing this podcast every week. You know who you are. Please like our podcast, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Until next time, I'm David Capes. Thanks for listening.